As you may be aware, the Snyder Cut changed many things in respect to the Justice League movie, even adding teases to Snyder's overall plan for the DCEU, such as the addition of Martian Manhunter. Another tease came in the Knightmare Epilogue, featuring Jared Leto's Joker alongside Batman and the rest of his post-apocalyptic crew. The conversations in the dialogue allude to the fate of two of the most popular characters in the DCEU, Aquaman and Harley Quinn. In this video, though, we'll take a look at the latter and what it means for Margot Robbie's character moving forward. Beware, there will be some Snyder Cut spoilers in this video, you have been warned. So, for anyone who watched the movie all the way to the end, you'll know that at some point in the Knightmare timeline, Harley Quinn dies. The Knightmare timeline takes place either in a potential future or in an alternate universe where Darkseid has managed to corrupt Superman and turn him evil after the death of his love, Lois Lane. To combat Superman's tyranny, Batman leads a resistance crew consisting of the Flash, Cyborg, Mira, Deathstroke, and his arch-nemesis, the Joker. In the epilogue, Batman mentions that the Joker is crucial for their plan and has to be a part of the team.
You need me.
But the hatchet certainly hasn't been buried between them. As the two throw insults and F-bombs at one another, Joker mocks Batman for being a coward and causing the death of his own parents, Lois Lane, and of course, his trusted sidekick, Robin. Instead of using his fists, Batman decides to use his gravelly growl and details how Joker's once trusted sidekick Harley Quinn died in his arms and how she begged him to kill the Joker slowly, and judging by Batman's wording, that is something he very much intends to do. Now, how Harley died is unclear, but seeing as she has such a strong hatred for the Joker, there is a strong possibility that he had a hand in her death. According to reports, Snyder did have full intention of filming her death, suggesting that there is definitely a long game in mind in regards to Harley in the future.
If you weren't so crazy, I'd think you're insane.
Despite somewhat redeeming herself in the DCEU after she left the Joker, Harley is still somewhat of an anti-hero and has still not finished her redemptive arc. But, judging by the way Batman speaks about her, he and Harley seem to have grown close, or at least gotten to a point where they're willing to trust and work with one another.
You're Peach.
So far in the DCEU, Batman and Harley have had very limited screen time together, despite the fact that they shared a kiss in Suicide Squad, so it's hard to imagine Batman being in a place in the current timeline where he would be willing to work with Harley in any shape or form. Especially if she did have a hand in the death of the Golden Boy, Robin. But seeing as she died in his arms, and seeing the way Batman speaks with a real form of anger, it does suggest that maybe they worked past their differences and maybe even grew fond of one another. It may be a little bit of a stretch going off these short lines of dialogue, but it could explain why Batman is so determined that he will exact the revenge on the Joker that Harley requested. With the DCEU's future very much up in the air, it's hard to imagine there's a film currently in the works where Harley and Batman work together and become closer, but who knows at the moment. It is interesting to think what the catalyst could be to make them trust one another. Now, this is just my own personal thought, but I would like the idea of a Court of the Owls storyline, where Batman needs the Suicide Squad to help take down an army of Talons, leading him and Harley to work together with one another. Just a thought, though. But now that we've talked about her life, let's theorize about her death. As we've already mentioned, Harley's last words to Batman are to make sure that the Joker dies slowly, and Batman agrees to this promise, despite having a temporary truce with the Joker. These final words of Harley's make a lot of sense for a number of reasons. Firstly, it is understandable that Harley would still hold some negative feelings toward the man that corrupted and manipulated her and even tried to have her killed, so it could just be her making sure that the Clown Prince of Crime gets his just desserts. But, as we said, there could be darker connotations to what she said. And perhaps her last words allude to the Joker being the one that killed her. Another way Harley could have died is through Darkseid's invasion and the rise of evil Superman. Perhaps Darkseid, one of his minions, or even Superman himself ended up killing Harley. Although this doesn't necessarily explain her final words, unless the Joker had a hand in Darkseid's invasion as well. I mean, Lex Luthor was in contact with Steppenwolf in Snyder's original plans, so you never know. Another classic DC villain who could have had a part to play in Harley's death is the Riddler. Although the Riddler will be appearing on screen soon in Matt Reeves' upcoming The Batman movie with Paul Dano playing the role, the Riddler is still yet to make an appearance in the DCEU. That being said, Snyder does apparently have plans to eventually feature the villain, so maybe he could have something to do with Harley's death, although I'm admittedly reaching at this point. No, seriously, I think I pulled my trapezius muscle. Oh, my arm hurts.
It's boring.
but it's a part of my life. I'm just gonna grab this shirt if you don't mind.
Anyway, though, as we said, Snyder did have plans to shoot Harley's death sequence, so there is still the possibility of us finding out in the near future if Snyder's plans do come to fruition, although that is admittedly a big if. This all being said, could Harley actually die outside of a Snyder film altogether in James Gunn's upcoming Suicide Squad movie? Gunn himself has said that there will be a number of shocking deaths and that no character, including Harley, is safe. Although it does feel unlikely that Harley will bite the bullet so soon.